Hey sports fans, Coach Nick here, and welcome to another edition of Court Call with Ronnie Nunn. Ronnie, we got some great clips. Are you all set and strapped in and ready to give us your insights?
I'm ready, strapped in, and kicking to go.
All right. Well, don't hurt that knee while you're kicking.
Yeah, amen.
Let's look at our first clip, which is an interesting one where Andre Tome wants to know if Chris Kaman traveled or did something funky with his dribble when he was trying to hand off to Wes Johnson against the Lakers, against the Bulls. So what's your take on this play?
Yeah, this is the old adage. First of all, it is a double dribble. He was not able to re-dribble the ball. But if you start a dribble and you fumble it, as he did because he was attempting to pass, he can no longer re-dribble. He can go and get the ball and pass it. So this was a situation where we should have had a whistle as far as the officials on this double dribble.
As he was going to pitch the ball, he gets his hand underneath the ball, which basically discontinues that dribble. So what your point is he could pick it up, he just can't keep dribbling it.
Once you fumble on a dribble, you can only go and get it. That's okay, go dash for it, but you cannot re-dribble as if nothing happened.
Well, it's interesting because they had a referee, Steve Javie, on the broadcast. They thought there was an okay play, so we're going to have to disagree with him and maybe say that he was wrong.
When you're on the floor versus not on the floor, and all credit to the guys that look at the games, it makes you double check yourself, where when you're on the floor, sometimes you have a much more natural instinct to respond.
Well, up next, let's look at Batum. The Blazers had a nice block in the open court against Paul George, and Vid Patelin wants to know, was this really a call, or what should have been the right call?
Well, it should have been actually a no call because there was a great, obviously here's Batum chasing him down. Unusual when you can come from behind and get a great block. And this is what he does. I think the official on the sideline who makes that call, and I like that he's aggressive on making that call, he should have kind of deferred to his lead official who can see plays coming to him. I think he thought it caught the wrist. But as the review shows, it's all ball. And by the way, this is a dunk play. So even though the ball may be close to the imaginary cylinder of the rim, if you're attempting to dunk it and you don't release it, you can go and get your hand in that same location as a defender to try to block it.
Wow. So Batum didn't have to worry about any goaltending charge or call because Paul George had his hands on the ball as a dunk.
Yes, as a dunk. Now, if he'd have dropped it when he was above there, obviously the only place the ball can go was down, then Batum, it would have been illegal for him to block it then. But the block was while the ball was in the hand. It was a good block, and I'm sure when the guys got to the locker room, they noticed it.
Okay, and the lead official had a really good view and didn't call it. So I think what you're saying is you'd prefer to maybe he's the guy who should either call it or not call it?
I'd like to have him have the first chance to it. And then the cadence chance, which is a half step later, is to your slot official. Both officials always have to work with each other on plays to the hoop. And I like aggressive slots. And the thing was here is take a look at it. It looks a little something. Your lead doesn't have it. Are you very sure? And if you're not, let the play go.
Well, let's move on to Dallas versus Memphis because Florian Thomas, I got to tell you, he had a great eye. No one else caught this. The clock started late in this game at the end of the second quarter, and it ultimately allowed the team, the home team, to get a bucket, which they wouldn't have gotten. So walk us through how that goes and how this thing could happen.
Well, first of all, it could have been a technical problem, a clock malfunction. For example, the officials could have started the clock. And let me make sure we understand, it was 10.1 on the throw-in, and the clock didn't move. Now, there's 4 people that initiate the clock to start. It's the 3 officials. It can come from any of their initiating packs that are on their waistline. And also remember the old timer. The timer could be the first one to initiate it. And by the way, the computer will indicate who started that clock. So they apparently started it, and I'm going to approximate it 2 seconds too late. And obviously down the other end, there was a basket made at 0.5. So there was a question. I think the problem was that no one brought it to the attention of the officials because this is a trigger of either a malfunction or a late start. And if there was question, the officials could have gone back and could have gotten the time exactly, subtract that time, and then follow up on the play and see if that shot still was released timely. And that could have been the way to correct this situation. It is a trigger to have a clock malfunction, either starting too soon or starting too late. But I don't think anybody picked it up but our fan, and that was a great pickup.
Well, I put my conspiracy hat on there, and I feel like I could see, if you go frame by frame, the baseline official is reaching back with his left hand. It appears that maybe that's what he's doing, is turning the clock on, and clearly he was late, but then it doesn't really explain why none of the other two referees got it either.
Yeah, they should have got it. Everybody is responsible for the clock. As a matter of fact, that official at the throw-in position on the end line is the one not only to start it, most aptly, but he's also the one to look at it far and away. He's looking at the front court clock. If he notices right away that clock doesn't start, he could correct it right then. But that's a habit that I'm surprised he didn't put into his profile. That's something in basketball. You look at the clocks all the time on rebounds, on throw-ins, so you see the movement, and the clock is legit as he goes up court.
Let's move on to our next play, which is Spurs Bobcats, and Jordan Samar had a great call on whether or not there should have been a call either way on a block charge in the open court. No call was made. Ronnie, what do you think? Was this the right call?
This is one of the times I like a no call here. And the reason is the defender's really in pretty good shape. The problem is that when, I think that's Kemba, when he's coming down, I think he's trying to spin away. And probably a great move. And, he's so quick, he can spin away from a guy with very mild contact. The problem is he loses the spin, the play breaks up, the ball is lost, and it's lost to the right team, which was the defensive team. And I think it was a good play on no call, because the contact kind of was incidental to the incident, because the ball was lost. The play was dead.
Yeah, he was definitely out of control. And the other thing fundamentally is he went to cross over and then spin move, which is kind of an unorthodox move. Usually you don't see that. Usually if you're going to spin, it's already in that right hand to go spin back. So I would say to that he was out of control, and the referees felt like, there was no advantage gained by the little contact that there was.
Yeah, that is very well said. And by the way, nobody likes, including the coaches and the officials, nobody likes what they call a bailout play. And, it could have been a block, let's say, and then it seemed like we'd be bailing out Kemba. So when plays like that occur, they're truly incidental, and the best way is play on. I think you said it perfectly.
And let's move on to our final clip, the Bulls versus the Suns. And Henrik Dievold caught a really good question as far as Nazr Mohammed being called for a 3-second defensive violation. Ronnie, was this the right call?
It wasn't the right call, but I know the emotion of the official knowing that the defensive player was suspect through the initial onset of this offensive set. But when he calls it, he's actually legal. And if you see, he begins to become suspect if you look on the screen at around 9:04. He's got a distance away from his opponent. His opponent is outside the 3-foot posted up mark, and he's in the paint. And as we move the clip forward, the player comes in a little closer because he's setting a screen. And now still, he's suspect about whether he's outside the 3-foot posted up mark as the offense, and the defender is still in the paint. So there, from 9:03 or 9:04 to 9 minutes, he's illegal at 8:59. So the call should have been made somewhere along this track. Now all of a sudden, from 8:59, he's recognizing there's a problem. As you go forward, he jumps out at 8:58 with 2 feet. Make sure he does that hopscotch that the kids do, and he gets both feet out of the paint. That gives him a new 3. So with the new 3, he comes back in and he intercepts a cutter, which is legal. It makes him doubly legal, and then the call is made. So I think it was the timing and the kind of confusion he was making with the official, and the official caught it late and said, I know he's done something wrong and I'm going to get him. He got him too late. But if he got him earlier, he would have been correct. That's what got him confused. And that could get you confused because it stays on your mind when you think something's illegal and you're trying to go back to the base of it. And that's how, by the way, plays get lost, even though it's a lot quicker. You see something, you go, I don't think that's right. I don't think that's right. And all of a sudden it's gone and you lose it. So in all fairness, that's how the human mind works sometimes.
So do you think he should have just let that one go because he missed the moment?
Yes, he missed the moment. And, on his review, he might put down on a sheet. I should have had an illegal defensive three much earlier, somewhere between 9:04 and 8:59, and but I lost him. I looked out. I did this. Then I saw it again. I knew there was something wrong, and I think I caught him. So I think he just threw himself off.
Well, another great episode of 5 terrific clips by our fans. Don't forget, submit your calls when you see them that night on Twitter to us using the hashtag #CoreCall. But please, please include the date, the teams, the quarter, and the time. You'd be surprised, Ronnie, how many people want to submit it without that information, and it just makes it that much harder for us to include you in our show. So, well, don't forget, at B-Ball Breakdown, we're not a channel, we're a conversation. You in?
I'm in, Coach. Thanks for having me again.